How's it going, guys? And I'm here to take a look at Ruthless Aggression episode 3. So we've done the other two episodes so far. Go check those out if you haven't. I'll be going through the others too that follow this one. It's 5 episodes in all. Looks like they're stopping there, which I gotta say, like, talk about lazy because there's so much more material they could go through. But we've been without this series now for like a good almost 2 years. Big delay in between, and the best they could do is 5, which is the same amount we got for the first season. I've never heard of a show where there's only 5 episodes per season. I mean, this is this is on Peacock. This is the network after all. So I guess they're doing things their own way. I just think it's a little cheap, but whatever. So this episode is called The First Revolution, and obviously that's kind of playing off of the women's revolution, which is something that happened in WWE around 2015 when people started using their hashtags on Twitter. And this was kind of like the beginning the beginning of the end happened a long time ago, but kind of the beginning of the end even more so for WWE when they started giving into the fans and giving them what they wanted. And, if you think it's a bad thing to give fans what they want sometimes, go watch all my other videos on this channel. You'll see exactly what I mean by that. I'm not saying to make fans disappointed, but you don't listen to the internet. You probably never should. So, anyway, this is about the women, as you could expect. And to me, this is always going to be my women's division. Now, we've heard from some of these girls already in other little interviews and, women trying to push down, push back the barriers of women's wrestling. And, when I listen to all these women in the interviews, especially like Tori Wilson, it's like, they wanted to be more than eye candy, and they broke down these barriers and everything. And like, the women, like, they always were featured prominently. I kind of think they're trying to skew this in a way to kind of better today's product in a way. I mean, they do give a lot of credit to Trish Stratus and Lita, but let's be honest, there were plenty of moments here when the women's division was shining bright. The women's title on China, I mean, I don't think you could give it any more credibility at WrestleMania 17. We also had WrestleMania 18 with a great triple threat match. I also don't think they highlighted Jazz enough in this episode. They showed little flashes of when they were showing certain people, but they should have highlighted some of the girls even more. Like, it was also weird that you didn't hear anything from Stacy Keibler. I guess they couldn't get her for this. They could have used old footage from the time, like older interviews. They used to have a host of interviews from like Confidential, for example, but keeping it current, they could have used that as part of the timeline. But, a lot of noticeable absentees when it came to interviewing these people. But, we got to hear from Victoria, from Tara, and they did credit like the steel cage match with Lita and Victoria, the main event of Trish Stratus and Lita. It's funny hearing like Tori Wilson like talk about, how she wanted to be a better wrestler, but she never really got to be a great wrestler. She was never really known for being a great wrestler. It's kind of like, in a way, it's a little stupid in certain parts, because it's like, because not all the girls they had were great. This kind of, it's well formatted. These episodes are very well done. I said that even about the first season. Very well edited, very well put together. But I feel like there's an underlying narrative where they're trying to push the absolute garbage that we see today. Like, I praise, like, I like Charlotte. I think that, she would have fit in very well with the Ruthless Aggression era, for example. But these girls right here, they had opportunities. They were making like they never had opportunities. Like, they gave them tons of spotlight. And they tried to like steer it kind of like they had to fight with what they got today. And today is just a mound of fucking trash. So it's like what they had back then was 10 times better. And I always mention this on the number of occasions, you know, like when we do our SmackDown and pay-per-view reviews. There's this underlying narrative where today's women wrestling is so much better. And they talk about, oh, the 7-8 minutes. 7 to 8 minutes, that's long enough for a fucking match. Are you kidding me? Like, how much longer do these girls want? 7 to 8 minutes. Like, you take your average Attitude Era pay-per-view, in 7 to 8 minutes, you had some real bang-up matches on there. So, like, what, now, today, because we get these 20-minute main events? Like, let's be perfectly honest here. I would rather take the triple threat that they gave us, like at WrestleMania 18, for example. I would take that match. I would take that one over the 20-minute Bianca Belair Sasha Banks match from this year's WrestleMania. Tons of others examples. Yeah. So, you know, once in a while did they goof up? Yeah, I would say even more like WrestleMania 25. Like, that was just a throwaway battle royal. There wasn't much to it. Everybody just came out at once. You know, there was like really no fanfare to it, even though you had some real legendary divas in there. Yeah, so I actually think that after the Ruthless Aggression era did things start to fall apart, but they seem to have a different narrative. Now, they are crediting the Ruthless Aggression era as being like the gateway to today and where things really started to pick up, you know, with women's wrestling. And that is true. But they made like it was like a big fight and a big struggle through the whole thing, when the fact of the matter really, it really wasn't. And they did show Mickie James and Trish Stratus, which I gotta say, in my opinion, like Trish and her, they put together like one of the best programs I think I've ever seen. And they did say that. They didn't say it was the best, but it was definitely good. But yeah, let's not kid ourselves. Like, there was a drop-off point after the Ruthless Aggression era, you know, and there was no gateway. Like, this was it. This was the ultimate women's division at this time. This is when it didn't feel like a mess. This is when things really felt like they were doing quite well. And, you know, they kind of knock their own diva search in a way and then kind of give it credit because it produced Layla and stuff, you know, but I mean, they're the ones, this is what I always laugh at, like, they're the ones who came up with the idea for that, and it was entertaining for what it was. I mean, you watch those segments, and they're 10 times better. Like, I rather watch a Divas Search, a Divas Search segment, any random one that you put in front of me, instead of any of the stuff that we're seeing, like, on SmackDown and the pay-per-views. I'm honest. Honestly, I'm being honest here with you guys. I really rather watch any of those. They would be 10 times more entertaining. But yeah, you know, we see Lita and Trish, you know, all the matches that they had together and how they both retired month after month. And, you know, it's because of that now, like, things definitely dropped off. Like, okay, we'll give credit where credit's due to wrestlers like Beth Phoenix, but let's be honest, like, the women's division later on was never the same after Ruthless Aggression. Also, they pinpointed the fact that Fit Finlay, like, we got to give credit to Fit Finlay. This guy did such an astounding job training these girls, you know, really working with them. So, you know, they actually they wrestled circles around the girls of today. Maybe that's why it has something to do with that. Such an old school guy, and we would get to see him later on a few years down the line in the Ruthless Aggression era. And Finlay just did such a great job, like, training all these girls, and we see him in the ring there with, like, Nydia and a few others. So it was great to see that and see the behind the scenes, you know, and we'll see that even when they do the OVW episode, which I just got done watching that one. That's episode 5. That's another really good inside look But yeah, it did start to be a little preachy in there, and made like there was some kind of struggle that really didn't need to be there. And the 7 to 8 minute match comment was just retarded beyond all belief. But yeah, there you go, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell so you get all notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank all my patrons for your continued support. And thanks again, guys. I will see you next time.